So Anna came to me in late 2021 and told me about your idea for the exhibition. I immediately felt very compelled by it, and a lot of that was because I could see how important it was to you. I knew it was very personal and very heartfelt. I've known you since I moved here and have so much respect for you and your practice. But then it felt like the work was institutionally to work together to think about why this show was important at this moment for our community, for Los Angeles, and even more broadly, and to think about why an exhibition of all Asian American artists now.
Mm-hmm. The ideas for Scratching at the Moon started in the summer of 2020 when we were all sheltering in place, and I was doing a lot of meetings with people over Zoom, meeting people online because that was the only way we could come together. I was meeting with people, other mothers who were makers. I was meeting with different Asian American artists and writers and curators we were all processing the rise in anti-Asian violence. I was meeting with Amy Yao around how we could raise funds towards Black Lives Matter. And I was also teaching ceramics online, which was something that no one had ever prepared me or anyone else for. All of those experiences online kind of filtered together to create this set of, I guess, a set of needs that I felt. And the result now is Scratching at the Moon.
And it tells a really particular LA story in that sense about different artistic communities, different neighborhoods in LA where artists would convene, would gather, neighborhoods that have changed a lot in the convening years. And so it's always felt like this show is inspired by that need that you felt in that moment, but also inspired by your awareness of how these communities have flourished so strongly in this city over many years.
Yeah.
A show like this hasn't happened before in one of the major contemporary art museums in Los Angeles. It's been, I think, such an important show for that reason, but also I think the kind of artists that you imagined being in the exhibition from the very beginning. You know, some are artists that ICA has a long-standing relationship with. Somebody like Simon Lung, who showed the first part of this opera project at the Santa Monica Museum of Art 22 years ago, and the opportunity for him to realize another act of the opera for this show was so appealing.
The show consists mostly of sculpture, installation, and moving image. And it was important for us to have a big open space in the middle so that the large, ambitious, and commissioned works would have the space they needed.
We knew we'd have to create some rooms for the videos that needed their own dark black box space, but we really wanted the works to be in conversation with one another and in a way almost interact or infect one another. So this big open room where we have Bruce Yonemoto, Michelle Lopez, Patty Chang, Amanda Ross Ho, Dean Samashima, there's a way in which these works are really put into direct dialogue with one another.
Anna Sue Hoy.
And Anna Sue Hoy.
Bleeding out into
Exactly. Bleeding out. I love that. I
Yeah.
love this feeling that the works are kind of pushing and rubbing up against each other. Michelle's correctional lighting piece, literally rotating and pushing its light onto the other works in the show, changing the dynamic of the gallery at all times, which is a really incredible thing.
It also adds this sonic element.
Yes.
The buzz and drone of that light. And there's such a sonic element to the whole show where Simon's opera spills out into the space, and then Bruce's fireworks punctuate
Crescendo
the space.
at some moments. And then, your gallery behind us with Amy, that was such a fun gallery to think about because we knew we wanted to put you together. Our decision to carpet the entire gallery, to really bring the gallery together as a space for both of you, I think was the best decision. It's such a beautiful space. We also like to call it the moment in the show where you're entering into your aunt's home and you are required to take your shoes off. It's like a transitional moment in the show where your relationship to the exhibition becomes a little bit more bodily. Just feeling the carpet on your feet is such a great feeling.
It's this soft space.
Yeah.
And it's also so brightly lit.
Yeah.
It's the white cloud space that kind of opposes the black box of the videos.
The other gallery that was so deliberate on our part was to put Young Chung and Yong Soon together. And I love that gallery. It's so quiet and elegant and poignant because of their relationship.
Young Chung was Yong Soon Min's student back in the 90s at UC Irvine. Yong Soon taught this course called Issues in Autobiography only once, but it deeply affected Young Chung, and he refers to it when he thinks about how he became an artist. We convinced Young, finally, to share the work that he made as a result, which are very intimate portraits of his family members, his grandparents, his father, his aunt, and he also has a portrait of Yong Soon Min from that time. Now it feels like such an important document to have.
Yong Soon was Young's mentor, and then Young became, one of Yong Soon's biggest advocates and supporters.
Yeah.
That quality of mentorship that's really throughout the show, because all of the artists teach, and some have been teaching for generations, like Bruce, Simon, and of course Yong Soon.
Yeah, this show really highlights this network that I felt was not visible to people outside of the network, and I felt that it was really important for a wider public to know who else is helping to create the art world and the art community in Los Angeles, besides who they were already thinking about.
Some of the artists in the exhibition, though several have galleries and have sold work and participated in the art market, many have practices that are more expansive than that. The teaching is one component of it. A lot of the works and the ways the artists work are research-based, very process-based. Some works can take many years. We were talking about Simon's opera earlier, and the first act of the opera was made 22 years ago. That willingness to let a work unfold over a long period of time like that.
Yeah.
Patty's project is also multi-part. Vishal's piece is part of a longer, more extensive project as well. This part of it, bringing Miljon into the fold, is a kind of beautiful component of what we have on view here. Na's project is multi-part, ongoing. Who knows when it will, maybe never end. So that way of thinking is very distinct, I think, among this group of artists. The catalog for the exhibition, it has so much great content. Anna had the brilliant idea of putting the artists in groups of 2 or 3 and putting them in conversation with one another. And they are just fascinating. I love those conversations. They not only tell you so much about the artist's perspective on their own work, but on each other's work. And they also share a lot of personal anecdotes and things that relate to how they got to know each other, or spaces in LA where they would spend time, schools, social spaces, some of which no longer exist. And you feel like you know the artists so much more personally after reading those interviews.
Julieta Singh wrote a book called No Archive Will Restore You in 2018, and it's a really slim book that my friend Latia Perta introduced to me. It talks about the body as an archive, which I found to be such an amazing idea, and explains so much about how I feel as I walk through life. Like, all of my experiences come through me when I'm making something, as I walk around, as I experience. And then even many of the experiences that my mother, my father, and people before me had come through me as well. And so to think about my living body as an archive was very generative when thinking about Scratching at the Moon. So we have bits of Julieta's writing as an intro and an outro in the catalog. We invited each artist to make a portfolio of their work in the book, so they got 10 whole pages, which was a lot of real estate, to do what they wanted to do. We really loved working with Dorothée Perrette, who designed the book, who helped me think about this project from the very beginning.
I have one final question for Anna.
Oh, okay.
Talk about the title and how you came up with it.
I love titles. I love playing with words, and I was thinking about the experience of being who I am and how my parents really wanted me to achieve in a certain way, and it really felt like I've been striving and trying my whole life. Just thinking about that trying, that aspirational feeling, and the moon is really far away and some place that I would love to go to. So it was really like trying to get to the moon, and it was like striving to the moon or squinting at the moon, and then somehow Scratching at the Moon depicted that trying hard. And so that's what the title is.
It's such a great title. Welcome to Scratching at the Moon at ICA LA, on view until July 28th.